This is the table saw. In here in the shop we've got 4 of them actually. There's this one here, and then opposite it we've got a table saw right here with a sliding table on it. Over there we have another one just like this one that's set up with the fence like this. And we have another one that's opposite it that's set up over there with a miter gauge, or a used for doing cross cuts or angle cuts. It's called an inker gauge actually, for doing different angle cuts. But we're going to talk about this one first, and then we'll move over to the sliding table saw and discuss that one. The way the table saw works, most of you have probably seen one before, where you have a 10-inch circular blade right here, where we turn the machine on, the blade spins, we run our board through, and it cuts it to whatever width or length we need. This particular one is for cutting the width of the board, which means we're cutting with the direction of the grain, which is called a rip cut. So if I ever say go rip that board to 3 inches wide, that means you're coming to this table saw with the adjustable fence, you're setting it to whatever width you need it, and rip cutting it with the grain. If you're cross cutting this way, we'll use a sliding table saw. Okay? This miter gauge right here, if you were in a shop where you only had one table saw and didn't have a sliding table to use, you could use a miter gauge. Drops into the slot here, and then you can use that to support your board while you do cross cuts here. That way you could do a safe cross cut. And you would never want to just try a cross cut like this, or put the narrow end against the fence and try and push it through like that for a cross cut. It would twist on you and tweak, and that board could kick back. Okay, so this is a miter gauge. This can also be adjusted by loosening it, and we can go to different angles to cut different angle cuts. That's the miter gauge. The way we're going to use this particular one, and the one over there that has a fence just like this, is we want to make sure that that's jointed. Okay, so we put the jointed edge of our board right up against the fence here. You would not want to put the rough edge against the fence, because if you did that, one, it's not straight, so it's not going to give you a good clean edge, and it may move on you a little. And two, you would end up with a rough edge on your finished piece. The finished piece, the one you're trying to cut, always goes between the fence and the blade right. And if you slide on around this way with that video, you can see the fence over here. We'll show you how to adjust it to the proper widths. So right here we have our measurement scale along here. So we loosen the lever right there, lift it up. The red line in there is the one we set on our width, and I'm just going to say this one is 6 inches. I haven't measured this board, so I don't know if that's right on from this board. And then we lock that lever down. Make sure you lock it down, because if that fence is moving on you when you're making a cut, it creates a dangerous situation. So it's locked down now. Now if I look at his board, I can see his isn't 6 inches, so we're going to have to cut it narrower to actually do his. But that's how you set for your width of board that you're going to cut. Now to turn the machine on, I'm going to put this guard back down so we turn it on. We have 2 switches. We'll get on the other side here. 2 switches. You've got your main switch that turns the power on. So if I shut that one off, you notice there's no lights. Flip that on, the lights come on, and I have a solid green. That means it's ready to turn on. So now,
touch the blade. See how it like comes on.
What's that?
If you touch the blade, the light comes on, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I'm not worried about that right now. Okay, so the paddle right here is what actually turns on the machine. So we pull the paddle out and you see the machine is running, and we push it in and the machine is stopped. Now while you're here, I'm going to show you these wheels. The front wheel right here is used to raise and lower the blade. So we loosen the center knob first, turn the wheel counterclockwise, and it will lower the blade. Clockwise raises the blade. Then we tighten that center knob again so that it doesn't move on us. The wheel on the side is the same. We loosen the center knob, then we can crank the handle, and that will tilt the blade to an angle. So we can go from a straight up 90-degree angle all the way to a 45-degree angle, or anywhere in between. So that's what the 2 levers are for. Just make sure you loosen that center knob on either one when you're using it before you try and crank it. Otherwise, it really can cause a problem with the machine. Okay, we'll go back over that side now. Before we make a cut, a few more things you need to know about the machine. The blade height should be about 1/4 of an inch above your workpiece. So if you just lay your board up there, look at the blade, and I can see that's pretty close to 1/4 of an inch right now. So I wouldn't need to adjust it. If I did, we'd go back here to this front wheel, like I showed you a moment ago. We'd crank it, loosen the center knob, crank it clockwise until we get that desired height of the blade. Okay. These little metal things here are spring-loaded. They're called kickback protectors. So when your board slides underneath those, the theory is that they dig in and won't let your board kick back towards you. Now you don't rely on that to prevent a kickback. You make sure that you do what you need to do to keep the board from being able to kick back. And there are 3 things that if you'll do every time you make a cut, you'll never have a kickback. And they are, 1, make sure that jointed edge is over tight against the fence. 2, make sure the board stays flat on the table. Don't let it rise up and down while you're cutting. Keep it down with your left hand and over against the fence. The right hand is going to feed it through, thumb on the back, fingers arched. And don't release the board until you have cleared the back of the blade. And I even suggest clear off the metal table, just push it. Then we're completely clear of the blade. There's no chance of that kicking back at you. If you let go while it's still between the fence and the blade, it can bind up and kick back. So those 3 things. 1, keep it flat on the table. 2, keep it tight against the fence. And 3, push it all the way through, past the back of the blade, even off the metal table. And that will help prevent ever having a kickback. And they do come back with a lot of force, by the way, if you have a kickback. They're not a fun thing to do. So. All right, back to our board here. If our board is ever less than 4 inches, like for instance, here's one that's about 1.5 inches, if we needed to cut that down, say to 1.25 inches, we would always use a push stick. Anytime we're less than 4 inches wide, you use the push stick. That way, I'll slide this over here so you can kind of see it. When our board's going in, the push stick should be right here ready to go. Always put them back in the holder here so that there's never a chance of you not having it. The left hand's going to hold it down. The board goes in, slides under the guard. Of course, it'd be making a cut had I turned it on. Pick up the push stick all the time, holding with my left hand so this board is never left without a hand holding it. Push stick grabs a hold, left hand lets go now, because my left hand should never go past the front of this guard right here. And that would continue on, push it off, and come back this way. And that's how you would safely cut. Don't reach over the blade to get your material either. Come around to the side so you can pull it out around this way. You do not want to get in the habit of trying to reach across a blade like that. It's a dangerous thing to be doing. Alright, sometimes you're also going to create some little scrap pieces on the scrap side, which is this side or the left side of the blade. Wait until the machines come to a complete stop before you grab those and pull them out. Because if they get caught in the blade, it can create a little bit of a problem too. You can suck it into there and whatnot. So let it come to a complete stop. Alright, so we've talked about the widths, we've adjusted it, we've talked about kickbacks. I think we're ready to make a cut here. Show you a demonstration on a cut. So this piece, if I measure it on the scale right here, is just over, it's about 5 1/4. So we're going to make your shell 5 1/8 Creek, since this is yours. Set that to 5 1/8, again lock the handle down. Now because this is over 4 inches, I don't have to use the push stick. Now I could if I wanted to. This is narrow enough that it would still be okay. But I prefer to just use my thumb on the back of the fingers, paying attention to where they're at, away from the blade. Alright, so we turn this on, I'll pull this out, the machine's on. Notice I'm standing to the left of the board where it's at. I'm standing here to the left, thumb is on top, push it down, fingers push it in like that. My left hand's holding the board going, my right hand's pushing over the board going in. Now we're cutting it, take it over. Left hand comes away, all the way through. Shut the machine up. Nice thing about that big paddle switch, by the way, you can use your knee. Just tap that to shut it off quick if you need to. That's what I always do, shut it off. But you do have to be careful not to bump that switch in the middle of a cut. You don't want it shutting off in the middle of a cut. So if you get into a cut part way and something gets caught and you can't push it through, or you accidentally bump the switch, don't just start pulling your boards backwards, because then they can bind up and that can cause a kickback as well. Just keep a hold of it with your fingers at a safe position. Let the machine come to a stop, or go ahead and push the stop button and let it come to a stop. And then once it's completely stopped, we can get the board out safely and determine what the problem was and then make the cut again. Now this particular board, if we need to cut it to length, or this one, either one, we again would not cut it on this one. This one is for rip cuts. We would then go over to the sliding table right here, which I'll show you in just a second, and that's how we're going to cut them to length. Okay, so this one that I ran through, if you look at it, we've got our clean jointed edge that I had against the fence. Now we have a nice clean straight edge that I cut with the table saw. So now those two edges are perfectly parallel with each other, and it's 5 1/8 wide. Some of yours are going to be different width than that, but that's what this one ended up. So let's slide over here. We'll show you the sliding table saw. We get these guys adjusted to the side a little bit. All right, the machine is the same. However, the way we use it is different. We now have a whole slide on here that goes back and forth. Our piece rests against this rail here, and we have a stop right here that we set for the proper length. So we look at the little black line, we loosen this lever, and I'm just going to say 20 inches is what that shelf needs to be, so I'm going to set this at 20. When this starts to tighten, just about 1/8 of a turn further is all you need to do. If you try and really wrench it tight, you end up stripping the threads out, and then you've got to replace that, and it's kind of a pain. So just once it starts to tighten, about 1/8 of a turn, you're good. All right. The blade height is the same on this, about 1/4 inch above your workpiece. So you just lift the star, slide your piece over there, and check it out. Now this one's a little bit low. So I'm going to loosen the center knob, straighten this front wheel a turn or two till I'm about 1/4 inch above it. That looks good. Lock the center knob back down, and we're ready to go. Make sure your hands are positioned on each side here, not right behind where you're going to be cutting. Because if you happen to cut all the way through here, this is where the blade will come out. And you do not want your fingers here where they could possibly get come in contact with the blade. Now we're going to slide this over and come up close and look at this now here. We're going to slide this first cut because we need to square the leading edge so that this first cut is just barely going to be into the groove, so we're only cutting about 1/8 of an inch to square this leading edge off. Okay, so we'll square this one. After it's squared, I'll pull this back again, slide it on over against the stop here, all the way against the little metal bolt, and then we'll trim the second end, and that will then make it exactly 20 inches long. If you don't square the leading edge, you just stick your board in there and cut off one end. You'll have one end square and the other one will be out of square a little bit. You'll end up needing to trim a little more, thus making your board a little shorter than the plans call for. So remember to trim that leading edge square, slide it down after it's trimmed, and then trim the second end off, then make both ends square. So let's show you how this one works. By the way, before I turn it on, once you slide forward, you're going to go forward just until your cut finishes. You don't need to keep going until it stops like that. Once your cut's finished going forward, then you keep your fingers on the board and hold on to this and slide it like that. But you do want to make sure you're holding your fingers on your board through the whole cut. All right, turn on our main power switch. Wait for the light to go solid green without a red blinking. Okay, maybe we've got something that's not closed. We got a door not closed on this.
It's good.
Did it stay green? Okay, now it went through all its check. We're good to go. Slide that over, so we're just cutting about 1/8 of an inch off. Arms up. We're going to slide through the cut. Turn that off. Slide that through now. After I pulled it back away from the blade, now it's against the bolt. Hold it down. got the strap piece after we pull it away from the blade. Make sure the strap goes in the trash. And now that board is cut to even width, so we have the same widths, and we've cut to the proper length, ensuring we squared both ends. So that's how you use the table saws. Do you have any questions about what we just went through? Okay, very good.